I'm about to go live here on Wall Street, sizing up. Waiting on the signal from YouTube. There we are. We are live. This is Wall Street Sizing Up channel. This is stock market news today, February 17th, year of our Lord 2021. You know what we do. If you've been here before, we give you the bits and the bytes and the traders and the misfits. A lot of the stuff that we say on here that you just won't find on CNBC. Some you will. We got a big day today, so let's just jump right into it. What would a day be without talking about Bitcoin? That's right. BTC price topped $51,000. It is now up 415% in the last 12 months since February 17th of since right around February of 2020. It is now the sixth largest asset class by market cap. Let me say that again, boys and girls. The sixth largest asset class by market cap in the world. I believe it's right at approximately $1 trillion. I believe it topped $1 trillion today. Here's the funny thing. There's a Stanford economist, Susan Athey, that made her Bitcoin price public. And this was back when BTC was $623. So that had to be 2015, 2016. She said that it was plausible that Bitcoin would hit 50,000 way back then. She was right. So, and she's not a big fan of Bitcoin. Let's check the markets today. I'm going to hit it real quick. Here is FinViz. Dow was up 91. NASDAQ was up 82. I'm sorry, down 82. S&P was down 1. Crypto markets, you can see here. It'll come up in just a second. I believe Bitcoin is now trading at 52. It is broken its all-time high. It is still moving higher, $52,000. So let's talk about why. One of the things is MicroStrategy, a business intelligence firm best known for the cryptocurrency buys that it's doing. Michael Saylor is the CEO. He had Bitcoin. He essentially went to his board and said, hey, we want to start buying Bitcoin from from MicroStrategy's Treasury Reserve. It's turned into, I believe, a $3.5 billion holding. They were going to do another $600 million in convertible notes. That has now changed. You can see on screen there to $900 million. The once obscure firm, which jumped in headlines last August when it made its first Bitcoin purchase, has since loaded up on the leading cryptocurrency. At one point, its holdings are worth over, again, $3.5 billion. Let's go back to this real quick. I want to tell you the top 5 analyst upgrades today. Palantir, PLTR, was upgraded from a buy from neutral at Goldman Sachs. Cree, CREE, was upgraded to a buy at Citi. Mesa Airlines, isn't that the one that Boone Pickens went after? It's awesome. Mesa double upgraded to a buy from Underperform of BofA. Oshkosh upgraded to a buy at Jefferies, and Freeport McMoRo was upgraded to a buy. The reason why the Freeport McMoRo, they're a mining company, that's FCX. Global commodities team sharply raised copper price forecast for 2021 and now expects prices to hit 10,000 per ton between 2021 and 2022. All right, top 5 analyst downgrades. This is downgrades. Under Armour is now a hold at Argus. Cortazine, CRTX, downgraded to a hold at Jefferies. Fortive, FTV, downgraded to equal weight at Morgan Stanley. Aegon, AEGN, downgraded to hold at Stifel. And Bluebird, although Bluebird was up today, it's biotech was down. It was downgraded to sector perform from an outperform at RBC, citing the company's temporary suspension of its sickle cell anemia, I believe phase 2 trial, if I remember reading that right. I wanted to, so don't want to go back to this. The next one, we're going to talk about Musk in just a second, but I did want to point out, this was just breaking. So News Corp literally just muscled. I think this has started something big. News Corp just muscled Facebook and now Google into surrendering their everything free position in search. News Corp announced a multi-year partnership with Google to provide content from its news sites in return for significant payments by Google. Understand what News Corp is. That is a Fox News home network. It's pretty big news story there. I'm sure there'll be more surrounding that as more and more is made available. I think Tucker Carlson's going to have like a podcast. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff. Mortgage applications to refinance homes fell 5%, while applications to purchase a home fell 6% last week as interest rates went up from 2.96 to 2.98. I'm not sure if that makes a big difference. Biggest asset manager in the world, BlackRock, taking notice of Bitcoin. Now, they've said this before, but check this out. As investors look for alternative stores of value, according to the CIO, Chief Investment Officer Rick Reeder commented on BlackRock's interest during an interview with CNBC Squawk Box on Wednesday morning today. He said the asset management giant is starting to dabble, wink, wink, nod, nod, in cryptocurrency. A dabble with BlackRock with $7 trillion in assets. That's a couple billion, you know? So, all right, SpaceX, you see it on the screen. SpaceX has raised $850 million at a $74 billion valuation. When this thing goes public, I bet with the following that Elon Musk has, not just on the Tesla side, on the SpaceX side, I bet this is a $200 billion company when this goes public. There's no SPAC going to be rolling this up, I can guarantee you. CNBC reports the company received $6 billion in offers in 72 hours. They only wanted 850. They received $6 billion offers in the first 3 days. The capital will support the rollout of Starlink and IPO once reasonable predicted cash flow. I'm reading that wrong. Once we can predict cash flow reasonably well. Also, here's the big one today. It's not getting a lot of play, but I think it's huge. So this happened yesterday, but now the news is just coming out, so it was late. White Shoe Bank at Goldman Sachs rolled out its newest consumer investing product. It's called Marcus Invest, right? So think of Betterment, think of Wealthfront. Marcus Invest, which is available to customers, they say in shoes of any color. I believe it's an app, if I'm correct. Marcus Invest also represents Goldman's first venture into robo-advising. It's estimated to reach, so robo-advising is expected to reach about $450 billion this year. The investment strategy group advice is typically offered for clients with at least $10 million in investable assets. So now they're getting more consumer focused, if you would, and so have your own portfolio manager, so to speak. It's still gonna be robo, but typically the wealth funds and the betterments, they have about 9 to 12 different tracks. I'm guessing Goldman Sachs is probably going to have, I would hope, over 100. The robo advisory strategy, which automatically builds and rebalances the diversified portfolio of funds, is already offered by a few firms over the last, or it's been offered before to larger firms, is basically what it's saying. A judge ruled yesterday that the investment firms representing Revlon, I don't have that one, do not have to pay back the roughly $500 million it erroneously received from Citibank last summer in an errant wire payment. This is big. So essentially what happened, somebody at Citibank was wiring money from Revlon to their debt holders, which happen to be investment funds, right? Well, they fat fingered a $50 million and made it $500 million in the wire transfers, right? And so the investment funds just thought they were paying back their debt obligations early. Not so fast. They weren't. But here's the thing: the court just ruled you can't claw it back. You can't do it. So Citibank, it seems like they're probably on the hook versus Revlon. It's pretty interesting. All right, so let's talk about Joby Aviation and the robo-taxis that are just going nuts right now. So Joby Aviation will reportedly merge with the Reinvest Technology Partner SPAC to go public at a $5.7 billion valuation. The SPAC was started by Mark Pincus. He was the founder of Zynga, if you recall, and Reid Hoffman. They sometimes call him the godfather of Silicon Valley. He co-founded LinkedIn, and he's been in thousands of deals. Also understand this though, that Toyota also led the Series C, and is advising Joby Aviation all things development and manufacturing. So they raised $690 million in a public listing last year. Joby Aviation is an electric air taxi startup with 500 employees that has raised $796 million since its inception in 2009. It also acquired Uber's air taxi unit, Elevate. I think they paid $125 million for that. So good luck to them, but it's going to be a couple years, I believe, is what I read. So North Dakota bill. This is big too, which would have had a significant negative impact on companies such as Apple and Google, was voted down by the state Senate yesterday. The bill would have required companies to allow app developers to use their own payment systems and thus they could avoid the 30% revenue share charged by Apple and Google on their respective OSs, one in the App Store and one in the in the Android store. Epic Games was the one that was leading that, but the Senate, the North Dakota Senate basically said no, that's their property. You're using their platform. So Epic Games then goes back and has filed a complaint with the European Commission's Directorate General for Competition, claiming that Apple's 30% fee for App Store and in-app purchases is anti-competitive. So they fought him in North Dakota. They lost. Now they've gone to Europe. I thought that was very, very interesting. And stuff, you can't make this crap up. Literally, the New York State Attorney Letitia James, who I know she's filed on Trump, she's filed on wealthy individuals, she's filed on Wall Street, has officially filed a lawsuit against Amazon over its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know how many employees they got, but it's probably over 250,000. Last week, Amazon sued Attorney General Letitia James. So they knew this was going to take place, so they drew first blood to block her office from taking legal action against its COVID-19 response. James is investigating the safety measures Amazon has put in place and the firing of an employee, Chris Smalls. The suit asks Amazon to change its policies to better protect worker safety, create new training and safety monitoring protocols, as well as compensate Smalls and offer to rehire him. Last March, Smalls organized a protest among warehouse workers with Amazon refused to close a facility in Staten Island where an employee tested positive. So one employee tested positive. Dude gets mad. Guy, they set up essentially, some type of protest, a picket line, if you would, for one person testing positive and for Amazon not responding quickly enough. This is what happens, and so here we go. So, whether you like him or you hate him, Rush Limbaugh died today. I'll tell you a quick story about him. So, he was 70. He had cancer. He was bad off, and yes, he was one of Trump's. I don't know. He was a Trump supporter. Again, whether you like conservatives or you don't, I'm in the middle, and I call a spade, right? But here's the thing. I had a buddy who worked in Chicago. I think Rush was out of New York, but I can't be sure. But he was in Chicago. He worked at a steakhouse, and Rush left him a $5,000 tip. I'm not kidding you, a $5,000 tip. Now, the meal was like, I don't know, like, I want to say he said like $2,500. Like, Rush was not Rush wasn't hurting, let's just say that, right? But here's the thing, right? Supposedly he did that a lot, like 5 to 10,000. He would leave tips like that all the time. So he was a very generous man, but whether you liked him or not, I completely understand both sides. So, all right. So, what else is going on? Motley Fool is buying $5 million in Bitcoin, just because they think it's a great asset. You know what? I think that's pretty cool because they have a lot of retail investors that are not. They talk a lot about Bitcoin, but for them to buy it is pretty big. CVS has administered 3 million COVID-19 vaccines to date. It's very cool. Tesla fans, here you go. Tesla accounted for 79% of all electric vehicles registered in U.S. last year at 200,000 plus Teslas were registered by Americans in 2020, a 16% increase year over year. Here's cool. Google Maps is giving users the ability to pay for public parking and public transportation through the app. Very cool. And last but not least, iHeartMedia announced it's acquiring Triton Digital for $230 million. And there you have it, guys. That's the news that you will not hear on CNBC, probably, right? So with that said, guys, we said by the way, we're sponsored by StockTrade.tips. They have one goal. One goal is to help you profit off the insider positions of the hedge funds. So try them out. StockTrade.tips is their website. But we say it every time. Watch your six, go hard and take. Cheers, guys. You have a great night.